Well, good morning everybody, and happy coffee as always. It has been a good hot minute since we were in the garden together, and it feels good. Look at this. Somehow, through all the neglect, still bringing in peppers. So it's 11:30, but things still need to get done, even though I wanted to sleep in. So no, almost noon is not the best time to be out in your garden when it's the hottest point of the day and the sun is beating down on you, but it's the time that I have, so it's the time we're going to use. First, I'm going to remove a bunch of mulch from containers, and then we're going to take the compost out of my compost tumbler, put it on top of those containers. We're just going to be moving soil around basically to put it where I want it to be. I just want to get my shallow containers ready for planting garlic. These shorter containers are what I'm talking about when I say shallow containers. They're not terribly shallow. They're still about a foot deep, maybe 10 to 12 inches. So they're perfect for growing garlic and onions in, which is exactly what I do with them. And it is almost time to plant garlic. Oh, that's a bunch of zombie grass, isn't it? So earlier this year at the Tulip Festival, I bought these. I was using these little cloth containers as pots. These are biodegradable, and I just wanted to show you guys that they are degrading. They are for sure degrading. I had some of these just sitting like with pepper plants in them out on a table, and eventually I couldn't even pick up the pepper plants without it ripping like that, because I would try to pick it up by the edges to pick up the pepper plant and it would just fall apart. So these absolutely biodegrade in about one season, maybe a little longer than one season, but it's barely holding together. So just to answer everybody's questions of if they actually degrade, yes, they sure do. Okay, so I'm just going to take this top layer of the containers where the mulch was. This mulch has degraded quite a lot, so there's not much now. I'll probably add this to the compost bin after we use the compost. Oh, it's been quite a while since I got my hands in the soil like this, and it smells so good. It was, I think, 67 degrees when I woke up this morning, which feels so nice since we've been having 100-degree days. Am I crazy for doing this without gloves? Does anybody else do almost all of their gardening without any gloves? I only put gloves on if I go to touch something and I'm like, oh, there's 1,000 ants in that. Or if I'm like picking bugs off of something. Or if it's a plant that like makes me itchy. But if I can get away with just using my hands, I do. I have to go get the drill. All right, got a drill. That's how you do that. Shovel. Alright, basically what's about to happen is I need all of these shallow containers to be about as full as this green one here. So I'm going to transfer soil from some of these empty containers and some of these ones that are a little more full into these empty ones, so that then I can top it with my homemade compost and some of the, you can't see it's right off camera over there, there's worm castings. Okay, what is up, you guys? It is later in the evening now. It is almost 6 o'clock, but my phone overheated earlier and I wasn't able to finish recording, but I finished putting the bottom layer of soil into these shallow containers just here. So now I need to get the compost, the homemade compost, out of my compost tumbler. So I'm going to set you guys up on the tripod and we'll get the compost out. Okie dokie. Here's the compost tumbler. This compost has been in here for so long, since like spring, maybe since the end of winter. Just composting away through the heat of the summer. I couldn't find gloves, so I just grabbed a shovel. There are some big chunks in here still, but there's no smell. It's mostly broken down, and it'll be a top layer on my containers rather than like everything. Like, it's not going to be totally filled with this. This will just be a layer on the top to give it nutrition, and it'll break down more and more as I water it, and it will leak nutrients into the soil below it to feed the garlic. I'm gonna just dump this into an empty container because I want to see how much we get in total. But look at how nice and rich and black that soil is. A little chunky, like I said, but it smells really nice. It smells just like store-bought potting soil, so. That's one side. I think that was 3 or 4 of those buckets. That is a sprouted avocado seed. This side doesn't seem quite as broken down. It's a little more dry, but we can just mix them together and it'll be fine still. Hi, BB. This little compost tumbler makes quite a bit when it's full, well, almost full on both sides. This bucket full up to here of just that. I love that. And now I can stop throwing away kitchen scraps. Because I started new compost. Love you. That was my love bug that just came outside to check on me. So the compost tumbler is mostly empty. I'll leave these little scraps in there because it'll kind of get the new stuff started with the bacteria and stuff that's already in here. It'll help it compost faster. And actually I have over here so this is the same stuff that I use for my garden mulch. This is pine shavings from Tractor Supply, or they could be from Hirsch, I'm not sure which. Those are the only two places I buy it. This stuff in particular is not new for mulch. This is actually used by my pet ball pythons. This was the bedding in my ball python's tank for the last, I don't know, month or so. And it was used enough that I needed to refresh the whole tank. So when I do that, I put it in a bag like this, and I use it as browns for my compost bin. So when I say browns for the compost bin, what I mean is, in terms of composting, you need browns, which is a carbon source, and greens, which is a nitrogen source, and also water. So the browns, the carbon, is the dead plant material, you know, wood shavings like this. You can put, you know, broken up sticks in there. We call it browns because basically as soon as if the plant dies and it turns brown, it's now carbon material rather than nitrogen material. So it's just anything dead and like dried out and brown, literally. Sometimes not literally, but literally also. Whereas, so the carbon source, the browns, really kind of soak up the liquid from the nitrogens and keep everything together so your compost doesn't become just a soppy mess of rotting vegetables. So this really makes up the structure of what your compost is once it's finished. The greens, the nitrogens, is where most of the actual nutrition comes from. So the living material composts down, creates liquids and gases, and kind of breaks down, composts, if you will. And the browns soak everything up, and as they break down, they become more soil-like, and then that feeds your plants. That was actually the first time that I've ever gotten both sides of this compost tumbler done at the same time, and that gave me a good bit of compost. I'm actually pretty happy with that. I don't remember how many gallons this thing is, but I really love this thing. Mine is the brand Vivo Sun. I didn't choose that brand specifically. This was for sale at a resale store, like where they buy overstocked or returned Amazon items and sell them at a storefront. And this online on Amazon was close to $100. And in the store they were charging $50. So 50% off deal is pretty good. And I didn't have the money at the time, so my mom actually bought it for me. How nice. But I do really love this thing. It doesn't ever smell. It's super easy to take care of. It was a bit of a learning curve to figure out the exact amounts of water and browns and greens that it likes to have. There's a lot of air holes in there. But now that I do have it figured out, I love this thing. And there we have an empty bag. So this is about how full it is right now. And this will break down and get lower and lower. I'll have to put more in there, as well as all my food scraps go in here. Any more snake bedding that I pull out. Also when I clean my gecko tank, I put his droppings in there. Okay, now that I got all the compost out of there and have put all of the bedding in, we can take a real good look at the compost that we made. We made it together. That's great. I can't believe I made that. And that made so much more than I expected. And then we're going to get it put onto the containers for the garlic. Here's the regular size containers that I usually grow in that are up to just below my knee. Some of them are closer to maybe 20 gallons and some of them are closer to 30 depending on width and height. Some, like, you can, looking down the way there, you can see that like this green one is taller than this orange one, and this black one's taller than the orange one but still shorter than the green one. Like, they're all not exactly the same size. So this is the compost we made, and the less composted one is on the top. Here's an example of wood shavings and what they look like now. Much more brown and moist, and it falls apart as I touch it. But the more composted one is towards the bottom here. And it looks like this. I would pay for that. That is some potting soil that I would totally pay for. Please ignore my McDonald's pumpkin spice iced coffee right there. Nobody needs to know that I'm a typical white bitch, right? It's fine. But anyway, I would totally pay for this compost. Look at that. If I gave that to someone in a bag, they'd be like, oh, thank you so much for buying me some compost. That's awesome. I'm so happy with that. So there's still a few bigger chunks in here, like this one, that I'll just break up and it'll compost down in place when I put it on the beds. I won't be planting the garlic into the containers until the middle to end of October. So it will still have some time where I'm watering it and it's able to break down in place before I actually put the garlic in it, so that they definitely won't get nitrogen burned. But I think that compost is pretty done, so I'm not really worried about it. All right, so we gotta move this container over to here. Ha! Oh God. First I'm gonna mix this up a little bit, because like I said, the one side was a little bit more composted than the other. It's good. This was a volunteer zinnia, but it's just already been doing so well. And I don't have many flowers blooming right now because I've been neglecting everything, so I really want to keep it. We'll see if it works out. I'm just going to set it on top of another container and let it root through the bottom, to be honest. There was a tag in my compost. A couple of weeks ago, my mom found these shavings for sale at an auction. I think they're pine, maybe? Definitely not cedar, I know that. I think they were $5 a bag or something like that. No price on them. Either way, much cheaper than you find at the local box stores. And it's actually fresh, like it's from a mill around here or something. And yeah, she bought it for me. She didn't know if I would use it for snake bedding or garden mulch, but I decided since it is like from just a mill or something around here. I don't trust that there's not something on it that I don't want my snakes to have, but would be fine for the garden. So, garden mulch it is. Oh no, I forgot. I brought out my bag of worm castings. I don't have any slow release amendments right now, otherwise I'd add those too. But I will try to get them before I plant the garlic, so that when I plant the garlic, I can add some. So worm castings are basically worm poop. Worms eat organic matter, and then, you know, also poop it out. And it looks like this. Very fine, granular, black. And it's just an organic nitrogen fertilizer, so there you go. I forgot to say, they were selling these wood shavings as like rabbit bedding, so I'm sure there's like not any chemicals or anything on them. I just, you know, rabbits and snakes aren't really the same animals, and snakes have really sensitive skin, and they're used to only store-bought, like, everything free stuff, so I just didn't want to take the chance. But these outside plants, doesn't matter. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 containers, all ready for garlic, which will be double what I grew last year. I think I grew 4 containers last year and harvested this year, so this will be double that. I think this mulch is a little thin. I'll probably have to add some, but that's okay. Ooh, I have a volunteer tomatillo. That's cool. Probably won't have time to give me any tomatillos, but still cool. I appreciate your efforts, bud. Okay, guys, I think that is all that I will be doing tonight, aside from watering, but I have to go back and forth from my kitchen to out here with watering cans and gallon jugs of water to water. So that's a little bit tedious to record and probably tedious to watch. So I'm going to call it quits with you guys for tonight, but I will be back in the garden tomorrow morning doing a few more chores, and I'm going to take you guys along with, so I will see you in the morning. Good morning, everybody, and happy coffee. Please ignore the state of my kitchen. Clean dishes, putting soil in trays, paper plates, because we just moved in and it's hard to do a lot of dishes right now. But it is not the next morning from the first half of this video. It is the next morning from the first half of this video. And I got all the garlic done and I watered all the plants. In fact, I've watered the plants twice since I've seen you in the video. And this morning, sorry about that jingling, that's my cat playing with a toy. And this morning, I am putting soil into little trays so that we can start seeds for the fall garden. So I got most of the soil into most of the trays already. I left one so that I can show you guys how I'm filling them. So here you go. So here's my bag of soil on the counter. And I'm just taking these little flimsy, I got them for free, so I might as well use them. Those little 6 cells. I think they're 1 inch by 1 inch by 2.5 deep, maybe. And I've just been putting it in there, grabbing some soil and putting it in the holes until they're pretty full. And then because this soil is not pre-moistened, I've been, well, you guys can't see that. Because it's not pre-moistened, I've been packing it down into the holes to make sure there are no air pockets. If there are air pockets in your soil, then your roots will grow, reach the air pockets, and then prune themselves back. They don't like to directly touch air, so I've just been pushing them down into that. And then I take a little more soil and put it on top. Then I give it a good flat hand pat like this, and then scrape some off. And give it another good flat hand pat like that. And then set it into here. There is water in the bottom of here. This tray, I already had water in the bottom of it, and I watered the top, which is what I'm about to do to this one, so that everything can be nice and moist and ready for seeds. Okay guys, now I'm going to take this tray and that tray of soil in 6 cells outside, and we're going to start some seeds this morning. First thing I've done is remove the mulch from this container. I added some new potting soil at the top. It's Happy Frog by Fox Farm. And then a big hand scoop like this of worm castings, and mix that into the top. Now, carrots take a long time to grow. And carrots also take a long time to germinate. And carrots also don't like their roots to be disturbed. So a carrot is a root vegetable, meaning we eat the root. It is a taproot, a very thick taproot with little hair-like roots coming off of the taproot. So since carrots don't like root disturbance, and basically an entire carrot is a root, they don't do well starting in cells. I have tried it, you can do it, but they don't like it. I'll tell you now. I'm all about experimentation, so go ahead and try it. I'm not going to tell you not to, but I tell you right now, they have done better for me consistently being planted just directly into the garden, even though they do take a long time to germinate. So these carrot seeds I'm about to use are an F1 hybrid called the Bolero carrot. I picked this one because I know a couple other growers here on YouTube who use this kind of carrot in my area, and it does really well for them. It's supposed to be pretty heat tolerant, and usually carrots like to bolt when it gets hot. So these are also clay pelleted. So carrot seeds are really, really small, but in this case, I got ones that are coated in a clay coating, so the coating will dissolve into the soil and then we'll just leave the carrot seed. And this makes it a lot easier to plant one carrot in each spot that you want, rather than having to thin out the seedlings later. And if you've been watching me a while, you would know that thinning out seedlings is one of the banes of my existence. It makes me so sad to kill off the plants. But sometimes you gotta do it. But this is my first time trying pelleted carrot seed. This is from Johnny's Selected Seeds, by the way. These were, I think, it came with 250 seeds, and I think it was like $4 or $5. But when you're getting an F1 hybrid that you know is gonna produce better, and they're pelleted, so I don't have to worry about thinning seedlings, it was worth it, at least for a one-time try. So I'm just gonna pour some of these in my hand, and we're gonna start placing them. Okay, so that was just one ring around the edge, and it was 19 carrots. So now I'm gonna go at angles from where I put the other ones and start putting them closer to the middle. So that's 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Oh, I dropped one. Also that, if I drop it, I can actually find it. We will go with 43 carrots in this little container. And then I'm just going to take a little handful of this and sprinkle it over the top so they don't get buried too far. Because I'm also going to put mulch back on here. Make sure they've got good contact with the soil so that that clay coating can dissolve. You know what I just realized is that I did not bring out any tags or a pen. So I'm going to have to run in and get those before I start the little containers. I think I should do this a bit thinner since the carrots are going to have to pop through it. Carrots are, I mean, they're very, very small when they germinate, you guys. They're tiny. The seeds are actually pretty small too, which is why a lot of people like to buy them coated. Okay, I'll leave the bolero carrots just like that. Okay, well that was a struggle. It took me about 9 years to remember that these tags for like naming your plants were inside my laptop bag from going to the tulip festival. I brought extras so that I could write on them and stick them in people's plants if they needed. Also, my dog decided to take a giant shit in my house, so I had to clean that up. Now it smells like vinegar in there. My floors are unfinished, so pretty unhappy about that. Also, I now only have 30 minutes to do this before I have to go to work, so we're gonna have to speed seed, as I'm gonna call it. But these are just gonna stay right here, so if I don't get finished, I could just take the seeds and the tags inside, and these can just stay out here until I can actually do it. Okay, so first we are going to do artichokes. I have Green Globe Improved Artichoke from Botanical Interests, and I have Violet de Provence artichokes from Baker Creek. So I'm just going to do 3 of each, taking up 1 single 6 cell. Violet de Provence artichoke, and just put it in this back cell. And then make sure those are pushed in and cover them over. Okay, now Green Globe Improved. Alright, there's both kinds of artichoke. So I'm not sure about you guys, but I feel like every year I learn so much about gardening that I feel like I couldn't possibly learn very much more. And then the next year, I learned so much about gardening that I feel like I couldn't possibly learn very much more. And I just feel like that's going to happen every year as time goes by. And it made me think about my first time dealing with plants, basically, like growing plants. And how much I thought I knew at that time versus how much I actually knew is absolutely insane. So when I was in high school, I was in FFA, and my SAE for FFA, which is a supervised agricultural experience, that everybody in FFA has to choose one and do it. So mine was, I had a purebred Siberian Husky, and when she had puppies I would sell them, so that counted as some, but that was only periodically. But my real one was plants. We would order plugs from a catalog. I would order pots and soil, and I would have to tally up how much of that was a cost to me. And the school's FFA chapter would pay for everything, and then we would get the little plugs in, and grow out I did flowers, not regular plants, which I think is funny because now I do mostly vegetables and not a lot of flowers. But the school would pay for everything, and then we would do a greenhouse sale in spring, and people would come into the greenhouse and pick pots of flowers and plants and stuff that we had been growing to buy. And I had to sell my plants and make back the amount of money that I owed the school, and then whatever else I made got to be mine. And I had to make spreadsheets about it and come up with the prices myself and figure out how much it would be worth it to sell things for, considering how much I paid for the plugs. And it reminded me that my favorite flower is a dahlia, and I learned that in high school when I was doing that stuff. And I didn't know at the time that dahlias produce tubers. So when I was selling them, I put 5 dahlias in one basket, like one 12-inch hanging basket of flowers. And I sold those for $14 each, which means I was only making like $4 per container based on the price that I paid for the dahlia plugs, the price that I paid for the pots, the price that I paid for the soil, and all the time and energy that I'd put into doing it. I had a key to the school's greenhouse, and I had to go there during spring break every day. I would go and water everybody's plants and stuff because I was like basically a greenhouse manager for my school. And it haunts me to this day that I put 5 dahlias in one 12-inch pot and then sold them for $14. And I know for a fact those little old ladies that bought my flowers are still to this day probably looking at the beauty and harvesting the dahlias that I gave them, because they were the first to go and I didn't question it. They were so cheap in comparison to what you can sell dahlias at now, and that just goes to show that I knew nothing. And I still know nothing. I do know a lot more than I did, but it's still basically nothing. So that was Napa cabbages. Now we're gonna do Core Debut cabbages. Could have only done 3 Napa cabbage so I could do 3 of the Chinese cabbage, but we'll just skip it for now. It's okay. We're going to do Golden Acre cabbage from M.I. Gardner. Okay, bird. I feel like it seems really early right now, but it is in fact just after 9 o'clock. It's just very cloudy today, that's all. I don't know if it's supposed to rain. I should probably check that before I go so that these don't get flooded in the trays. I could just set them on the table. Now we're going to do pak choi, Asian greens. Now purple lady bok choy. Glory of Inkhausen, I don't know how to say this still. Glory of E, cabbage, is what I call it. I guess I will do... I'm going to skip the baby choy since I did 2 other choys. So I'm done with cabbages. This one says brassicas, but really it's mostly broccoli. And there are a ton of loose seeds in here. that doesn't make me terribly happy because I don't know what the loose seeds will be for. But at least I know they're not this one. So this is another F1 hybrid seed from Johnny's. This is the Bellstar F1 broccoli. It's supposed to be extra heat resistant, slow bolting, and make really nice heads of broccoli. I see Bree Ellis grow this one. She lives near Kansas City, which is about 5 or 6 hours from where I live, but very close in weather and weather patterns. So I thought I would try this one. I don't think I'll be able to finish both of these trays because it's 9:23, and at 9:30 I need to go inside and pack up my breakfast and such. So we're going to finish this tray and probably be done. Whoa, these seeds look crazy. Wow. Look, dropped one. But look at those. They're like yellow with little greenish black specks on them. I've never seen broccoli seed that looks like that. I definitely dropped one or two. So, I really love broccoli. I think I'm gonna do 12 of these. It might be a mistake. I might end up with more broccoli than I need and have to give some plants away, but I'd rather that than not enough broccoli. So let's go ahead and do 12 of these. So that was the, forgot the name already, Bellstar broccoli. Oh, and I need 2 tags for that. Okay, I'm struggle bussing today, obviously, if you couldn't tell. We're also going to do rapini, which is a sprouting broccoli, kind of like a broccolini. So instead of one big head of broccoli, it'll produce a bunch of little side shoots, basically florets of broccoli. But it's much faster producing, so while I wait for this broccoli to mature, I can be eating this broccoli. Also gonna start with 12 of, and I also think that's a mistake, but we live and learn, right? So the fall garden, purely based on, actually no, not even purely based on that. The fall garden is my favorite garden, not only based on the weather, so like it's cool enough that I can come outside, and sometimes I even come out in a sweater and sweatpants. Also, the plants that are grown in the fall garden are my favorite to eat. So, lettuces, broccolis. I love broccoli. We love broccoli in this house. Brussels sprouts are one of my favorite vegetables that exists. My mom really loves radishes. Alright guys, one more 6 cell, and then I'm gonna have to be finished for the morning, even though I'd rather do this all day than go to work. Oh, I knew there's a reason I should have done only 6 of those sprouting broccolis. I have another kind of sprouting broccoli! Well, oh, I'm pretty sure these seeds that are everywhere are these Snowball Y cauliflower. I'll just fold it for now. I do want to try growing Romanesco again, so the last 6 cell for this morning, I'm going to put Romanesco. Does anybody know if Romanesco is technically a broccoli, or if it's like its own thing? Because my package says Romanesco broccoli, but I've also seen it called a cabbage, so I really don't think it's a cabbage. Like, cabbages make me think of like dense leafy vegetable, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know. Okay guys, that's gonna be all that I'm able to plant this morning because I have to go get stuff ready to go to work. Sadly. Alright, I'll see you guys in just a second for you, but for me it's gonna be between 8 and 24 hours, so I'll see you then. Hey guys, what's up? It is the next morning and I was right. It did rain, so I'm glad that I did not leave my little seedlings out there to drown. We started one tray together and the other tray has still yet to been started as I have not had time yet. I think I will probably finish seeding out that second tray this evening and soon we'll have fall crops. I just wanted to jump on here and end the video for you guys. I started editing it yesterday and realized it's already pretty long, so we're not going to throw anything else in there. I just wanted to show them to you and that they're doing okay, so here they are. Here are the seeds just on the corner of my front porch. This is the tray that hasn't been seeded yet. No, I shouldn't leave these outside. I'll move them inside here in just a minute, but I did leave them outside yesterday. And these are the ones we already seeded, so within a few days, these will have little seedlings coming up. And then within a few days of those coming up, these ones will come up. Alright guys, I have to pack up and go to work. But it was great hanging out with everybody in the garden, and hopefully the content will be more consistent now that my garden is actually somewhat set up here at the new house. So I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here, and I'll see you all in the next one.